How do we get rid of the tipping culture in America? Nothing short of federal legislation will make a difference. Servers don't want it to go away, especially at higher-end places. You can make a lot of money on tips. The creators of South Park found out their childhood restaurant Casa Bonita shut down during the pandemic, so they bought it and renovated it for $40 million. They also instituted a no-tipping policy, but they paid everyone way more than minimum wage in Colorado. $30 per hour for bartenders, $28 per hour for servers, $21 per hour for bussers, and $18 per hour for guest services, and the work still demanded they get tipping back. Well, yeah, the whole point of why servers like tipping is so they can skim it and not pay taxes. You get something like 25% more value with cash. While that's a benefit, that's not the whole point. The whole point servers like tipping is because even if they weren't shorting their taxes, they'd still be making more than a lot of the other positions in the restaurant, and it doesn't take much experience to get the job. They are just screwing future selves then. If you aren't reporting your income, you are losing out on Social Security. Also, highly doubt they are saving in something like a 401k. Years ago, I had an old acquaintance, wasn't really a friend, that asked if he could live with me and my ex until he found his own place. My ex felt bad for him and agreed, and I reluctantly also agreed. We lived in a very high coal area, so to help him out, I agreed he could stay with us for only $500 a month, utilities included. He was a bartender at a pretty popular sports bar in town and assured us he'd have no problem with that. That boss was making $250 to $500 a night, more than either me or my ex made. Yet, he never had any money. He'd openly brag about why he was broke. Man, I crushed it last night, made $500 in 4 hours. And then I got off early, went to a bar downtown, bought half a ball, a bunch of drinks. Now I've only got $40. What was supposed to be a month or so became 6 months. Nearly destroyed my relationship. He never gave us a dime, and even when I finally kicked him to the curb, he and everyone else I knew, including my ex, was all, "You're being so mean to him, kicking him out and he has no money." That lifestyle is fast and day-to-day. A lot of them are making 6 figures, yet have nothing to show for it. Everything they make goes back into the restaurant after their shift is over. It's not the server tipping culture I want to change. They seem to prefer it. It's the fact that I'm prompted to leave a tip after pouring myself a cup of coffee out of the air pot at the cafe across the street. Or how I'm prompted to leave a tip before receiving the service, like when I tip DoorDash or Uber Eats 20% so they can just leave my food at some random address. That is the kind of tipping that needs to die off. That's by telling the management, not the workers, "Your default is too high, so I didn't tip." And also entering 0. Businesses saw that putting higher defaults brought in more money. People pushed the buttons. There are businesses that now reject 0 as a tip in the machine to further push the social pressure. People don't want to make a fuss. Your machine won't let me not tip you. It is a dark pattern, but it brings in more money. I saw this at a cheesecake factory when the couple in front of us got a takeout order, had an auto pop up of diff percent, and when they said how to back out of it, the hostess, prob lying, said there is no option. I would have asked for a manager. Escaping the tipping culture in America is like trying to unmix a cocktail. One way could be pushing for fair wages for service industry workers, so tipping becomes more of a gesture of appreciation rather than a necessity. It's a cultural shift that needs both patrons and businesses to shake things up. This kinda annoys me because I live in a city with a $16 minimum wage, and often some kind of employee benefit surcharge, but regular tipping is still just a given. The problem is, where's the line that you say, "You make a fair wage, I don't need to tip anymore"? Does your state have tipped minimum wage? Tipped employees typically get paid significantly less than those who don't receive tips. I just checked my state, and tipped minimum wage is half of regular minimum wage. Also, your minimum wage is 60% higher than ours. Many states don't have a tipped minimum wage, California and other West Coast states, for example. Tipping remains unchanged. It's a city ordinance, and there's no exception for tipped positions. When they spin the iPad around, just stop tipping, I guess. You have all the power. Yeah, if everyone stopped tipping, they'd figure it out pretty quick, I think. But it would be painful for those in the industry until they figure it out, and some places would probably close in the process. Tipping culture is already taking a beating. It's uniquely American, and I just read earlier today that 10% fewer Americans tip than 5 years ago. It wouldn't be a planned, let's all stop tipping. More like an organic situation where if a serious recession comes along, customers will stop on their own. Restaurants will have to pay more, or they'll lose their staff to other industries. In time, the landscape will look more like Europe, where restaurant pay works like pay anywhere else. People are getting pissed off by the raising default options. We order delivery a lot and keep seeing 30% being pushed. 30%? Absolutely not. When I was a kid, 10% was standard. Then it became 15%. A few years back, it became 20%. Now 25%. All the while, federal tipped minimum wage stagnated at $2.13. There comes a point where you just have to figure out wages as the cost of doing business. Just like every other damn industry out there, I occasionally hire people and I can't get workers for less than 25 hour. So I calculate that as the cost of labor when I give prices to clients. It's not hard. I hate the tipping culture. I get tipping at sit-down restaurants, but I order a bottled water at Starbucks, and I tip for that? I pick up takeout and am asked to tip. I still do to help the workers, but I'd rather just pay a flat price. Just stop tipping in those situations. As of recent, I've adjusted my tipping habits in 2 scenarios. If I had to do the work, or I'm required to tip prior to service being rendered, and I can't easily adjust it for bad service. Starbucks. It's made my life about 0% worse. If you use the Starbucks app, you can tip after or adjust your tip. But also, this is discussed a lot on the Starbucks sub. The staff truly don't care unless you have a large or very complex order. Do the staff even see tips through the app? Whatever you tip goes towards a digital tip pool and gets distributed among the employees, depending on how much they worked. We can't see individual tips by customers. I realized how bad our tipping culture has become when I went to one of those cookie stores and watched them do the absolute minimal amount of work while stacking up tips. Ordered the $5 cookie, yes, I splurged, then flips her iPad for a signature, aka please tip. That was her job. To stand there and ring up customers. Second employee grabbed a spatula, scooped up the cookie, then put in it a box before handing it to me. The end. I left the store a little dumbfounded, thinking how much they'd be making if everyone in that long line was tipping. It's absolute BS and messed up. You don't have to tip there. All the modern POS have tipping as a feature, and they think, why not turn it on? If people want to tip, they can, but that isn't expected, and most people don't for simple, mostly retail transactions. Just because they prompt you to tip doesn't mean you have to. I never tip for anything other than a nicer sit-down restaurant. Please like and subscribe for more daily content. I upload videos daily. You are also welcome to check out some of my other videos. Thanks for watching.